At age 9, 3 words were branded into my being: Stevens-Johnson syndrome. SJS for short. Stevens-Johnson syndrome is a severe adverse drug reaction. My SJS was triggered by a mix of medications after being bit by a very, very angry rattlesnake. It wasn't the rattlesnake's fault. Neither one of us wanted to be there. With SJS, if you survive the initial onset, you're treated in a burn unit. When I was 9 years old, the fatality rate was 75%. The odds were not in my favor. When I was 9 years old, 75% of my body was covered in 2nd and 3rd degree burns. Yes, I look like a monster. My first introduction to Stevens-Johnson syndrome was my father's voice in the intensive care unit. Penny, open your eyes, it's time to wake up. Now, I was raised in a family that you did what your parents told you to do. So I tried with all my might to do as my father was telling me, but I was in so much pain that it was hard to breathe. He repeated a little sterner the second time, Penny, open your eyes, it's time to wake up. So again, I tried. With all the muster I could bring up in my damaged body, I forced my parched eyelids open. I cried out, but nobody heard me because a loud eruption of applause and laughter went up all around me. You see, the reason that everybody was so happy is I had just spent a week in a drug-induced coma, because a 9-year-old could not endure the pain that my body was going through. You see, I'd been in a fire, yet no flames had touched me. With Stevens-Johnson syndrome, it burns you alive from the inside out. And if you survive, those injuries turn into deep scar tissues. My father asked me a question. Penny, what do you see? With a very small whispered voice, because that's all my parched voice would allow, I said, fuzzy. Again, another loud, boisterous happiness went up all around me. And above it all, my father's voice boomed, Fuzzy, she wants to name the stuffed monkey Fuzzy. Little did I know he was holding the stuffed monkey in front of my face. The reason for the celebration around me was because the huge medical team that had been working on me nonstop for the week had warned my parents that if, not when, but if I woke up, I would have brain damage from the extreme high fever that I'd been running. I would be deaf, I would be blind, I would be mute. So with that one small word that I was able to whisper, Fuzzy, and Fuzzy knew I was not referring to him, but he accepted the name. They knew I could hear because I responded and reacted to my father's voice. I could think my brain was going to be okay because I knew what my father was talking about. And I could speak because I said the word fuzzy. And that I also could see. Stevens-Johnson syndrome, those 3 words that were branded into my being that day so long ago, became the beginning of my journey. I was told by the medical field that if I did not follow their instructions, I would die. I was put on heavy, heavy narcotics for the pain. I was put on salves and ointment and inhalers. I went from being a tomboy to being a couch potato overnight. The one thing that they did tell me over and over again is that I could not exert myself because the scar tissue around my heart and around my lungs would not allow them to expand. In my child's mind, all I could see was that rattlesnake coiled around my heart and my lungs, keeping them small and tight. When I was finally allowed to go back to school, my friends asked me the same question that my father had asked me in the intensive care unit. Penny, what do you see? And maybe it was because my friends were the ones that were asking. I started looking around and I said, you know what? If I focus on what I can see instead of what I can't see, I could actually see better than what the doctors told me. I could even play baseball as long as I was the pitcher and I kept my focus on the catcher's mitt. The trouble came, of course, if the ball met the bat. So I made sure I threw as many strikes as possible. At age 19, I made a big decision. I went against doctor's orders, and I entered a 28-day rehab center to learn to live a life without being medicated. I made the decision that if my heart was going to explode or my lungs were going to implode, I'd rather be standing on top of a mountain, rafting a river, or just becoming the woman that I wanted to be. Well, my heart hasn't exactly exploded. I did have my first heart hiccup on the beautiful trail between Bear Lake and Grand Lake with a friend up in the Rocky Mountain National Park. On my first 14er that I summited, one of my lungs collapsed, so you could say it sort of imploded. 2 years ago, I got a call asking me to be a mentor for teenagers who are blind and visually impaired, to be their mentor as we rafted the entire Grand Canyon. What could go wrong? The first night on the river, the guides took us over to the river and went over all the dangers that the Grand had, but how to be safe. They were things like falling, drowning, dehydration, and rattlesnakes. I knew I couldn't spend 12 days without any sleep and in paralyzed fear that that rattlesnake would be around any corner. So I shared with the group my fear, my greatest fear, and why I had it. And that was a big risk for me because, as we all know, those teenagers could have spent the next 12 days torturing the hell out of me. But they didn't. What it did is it gave them an opportunity to share their biggest fears. And by doing that, it let us all put those fears into the sunshine, and we could all be brave together. Now, I don't know what I did right to be standing here tonight in front of you, but I know I didn't do it alone. From those first moments in the hospital to even this afternoon with friends, I have had extraordinary people around me. And I know that that is a gift, and I know that there are a lot of people out there that face barriers in their life that don't have that support. But I did. And they are the heroes of my story. I am not the extraordinary ones. And some of them are here tonight, and you know who you are. Yes, I still hurt. Sometimes it hurts almost too much. But every morning I wake up and I hear my Father's voice. Penny, open your eyes. It's time to wake up.